I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to make the sheet metal stand in Autodesk Inventor, the cell phone stand. And so the difference is when you create your new file, this time we're going to want to create a sheet metal part. And so I'll go ahead and click on that and hit create. One of the differences in a sheet metal part versus a standard part in Autodesk Inventor is you have to set your defaults first. And so here we have our sheet metal default, so I'll go ahead and click on that. And I'll go ahead and uncheck use thickness from rule, and I am going to determine the thickness of the sheet metal I am going to use. You have to type that in to the program first, so you can't change that. So we're going to use 040 sheet metal, so I'm going to type in 0.040, and I'll go ahead and click apply. Let's start off, it'll look very similar to what you would typically do in Autodesk Inventor. So I'll click on create a new sketch. I'll click on the plane that I want to create that sketch in, and then I will creating a circle, and we're going to use this sketch geometry here to help us make the part. And so my circle has a 1/4 inch radius, and so I'm going to make it a 1/2 inch diameter circle. And so I'll make a circle there. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to place a point, and then I'm going to want to make another circle. So I'll click that to make the distance between those two. I'm going to go ahead and make that dimension 2.434. Maybe. Try again. There we go. 2.434. And then I'm going to put another 1/2 inch diameter circle right here. And we're going to, again, use those circles to kind of get the curved feature of our sheet metal part we're going to make. Okay, from there I'm going to go ahead and add some more points to help create the geometry that we want for our part. I'm going to go ahead and just place them, and then I'll put a dimension on them. So first of all, we want them to be from this point to this point. From the center of that circle, we want 2.75. So I'll go ahead and make that on both of them. And then in the height dimension from the center of that, actually let's make the height dimension from the center of that circle, we'll make that 0.59. So we'll do the same thing with this one. From the center point that way, it'll be 0.59. And then what we're going to do is use a line tool to kind of create our geometry. So I'm going to click on this point right here, and then I'm going to find the tangent point of that circle that I created. So there it is. I will click that once I get the little tangent symbol. So I'll click, and again I'll drag the line up close to my circle, and as soon as I get that tangent symbol, right there it was, there's the tangent symbol you can see, I'll click to place the line. Click, and then I'm going to make a tangent line on the back of our circles here too, so from the point to the point, right like that. And that'll create the geometry that we want for our part. Last thing I need to do is come in and trim these circles, and so I'm going to trim out the inside so we just have the nice rounded edge like we want it. So I see a problem already with our sketch. These dimensions are incorrect, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that and edit it, and I'm going to make it 0.09. So instead of 0.59, it should be 0.09. And so I'll just change that on both sides. When I do that, the sketch should edit, and you should be ready to do the first part of our part here. So once you're done with that, you finish the sketch. It'll take us into our feature mode. I'll go ahead and click home. And then I want to go ahead and click face. And when I click face, it's automatically going to put in that 040 sheet metal. It's like an extrusion kind of for that 040 sheet metal. So once I have that done, I can go ahead and click apply. And you can see that we have the base part for our design created. So the next part of what we're going to do is we're going to create a flange off of this face. And so I'll click flange. I'm going to click on this edge of the part, and you can see that it brings a flange up. We're going to want our distance on that flange to be 6 inches. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in 6 inches. And then we're going to want our angle to be 110 degrees. So I'll delete that out, type in 110, and you can see it starts to bend back like we want it for our part. So once I have that done, I can go ahead and click apply. And I'll close that, and we'll make the next part of it. The next flange we're going to want to click, I'll click that flange, and I'll click on this point here to create our flange. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Click on that point. And this one we are going to want to be 6.5 inches, and we're going to want it to be at 175 degrees. Whoa. There we go. 175 degrees. And that will create the other bend that we need in our sheet metal part. So I'll go ahead and click apply for that one. The next flange that we're going to want is going to be from this surface right here. So I'll click flange, I'll click that surface, and we want this flange to be a 1/2 inch, and we want it to be at 90 degrees from that other part. So right like that, go ahead and click apply. So we can see our piece starting to come together a little bit. A few more flanges we'll make. I'll click here, and we'll want to make a 1/2 inch 90 degree flange on that side and that side, right like that. So we'll have that done. I can go ahead and click apply. If we look at our object, it looks a little bit too long right here. So let's edit that flange. That was flange number 2. So I'm going to right click on it and say edit feature. And instead of 6.5 inches, let's just make that flange 6 inches also. And that appears to fix our problem. So don't forget that you can go in and edit your features. The next thing we're going to want to do is round off some of these corners, these sharp edges. So that's important to do in sheet metal parts. And so I'm going to go ahead and click corner round, and we want it to be 1/4 inch, so that works. And I will click on that edge that I want to round, and so I am going to click on these edges to start with here. And also those 2 edges down there. So once I have those all selected, I'll click OK, and we'll go ahead and round those corners for me. Next thing we're going to do is create another sketch on this surface back here, and we're going to use that to cut some holes in the object. So I'm going to go ahead and put a point, 2 points on that surface back there, and I'll go ahead and dimension them, and I want them to be a 1/2 inch from the edge. And then I'm going to create a couple of circles on them, and I'm going to make those circles have a radius or a diameter of 0.25 inches. So I go ahead and type that in, And then again, I'm going to use the line tool to come in here and make a line, the top and bottom of those circles. And then I will come in and trim back the circles. So I have a sketch on my object. I'll go ahead and finish that. And then we're going to use this cut tool to cut out that sketch. And so what we're doing is we're creating a cutout in the object. And so in this case, it's to make the cord go through for the phone. We'll have one more of those to do by again creating a new sketch, this time on this surface here. Let me move it down a little bit so we can see it. Again, I'll make some points on that surface. These ones should be from the edge here, 0.75. Try again. So I want to go from that edge to that. We want them to be 0.75. Put those in. Again, I'll make a circle that is 1/4 inch, so I can dimension that. Another one on this point. And then I want to dimension from this back edge to those center points that way. I want that to be 0.125 inches. So I'll move that one down, and then I'll also dimension this one. Get my line tool. Make my lines. Trim out the other parts. Finish the sketch. Use the cut tool to cut the hole. So there's how you can create a sheet metal part for your stand in Autodesk Inventor. And the last thing I want to show you is if you click this button here, it will create a flat pattern for you. So this is what your object would look like if it was flattened out, and these were the bend lines. And so then you can put that flat pattern into your detail drawing and then dimension that. And so I can go from the folded part to the flat pattern just by clicking that button. And another helpful tool is to use this bend order annotation, and it will tell you the order that you need to create your bends when you're actually building the part, what order to create those bends in.